What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 398. And I got an update for you guys when it comes to the podcast. And some of you guys are going to like this. Some of you guys are going to hate it. Some of you guys just don't care as long as there's a podcast coming. And the news is I'm officially shifting to one episode a week. I wish, and here's the thing, I wish I could tell you why. But there's so much stuff happening behind the scenes. Just know that I'm doing it for the greater good of everything. In the last episode, I was talking about expanding, and there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that's going to require a lot more of my time, a lot more of me traveling potentially as well. So with that being said, the 2 episodes a week is just not sustainable, and it's not really needed because like this episode that I'm about to do right now, there really wasn't much news besides I think 2 or 3 major interviews that came out. I'm going to be talking about the Jay-Z one with GQ. I'm going to be talking about the J. Cole one with Cameron because he did one with Apple Music. We talked about that already. And then I'm going to be talking about Paul Rosenberg and DJ Whoo Kid on the Real Report with Yayo and Uncle Murder. They talked about some interesting things on there as well. Other than that, there's like 2 other news articles that I want to go over. There really wasn't that much news besides little small things like, 21 Savage confirming that, Lotto, that's his baby or whatever, Lotto's baby is, because she's pregnant, whatever. So that little news stuff like that, I don't really care to cover. It's not a big deal, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't care to hear that. So why am I switching to one episode a week? Like I said, I can't really reveal the reason, but as the months go on, you guys will see there will be things happening, and then you guys will be like, okay, this makes sense, Quake. And like I said, the second reason is just the 2 episodes a week thing was for when I had like Vito on the podcast, when I had Sean Wayne, when I had Tefili, like that was the reason to have 2 episodes a week so we could have more content coming out. Now that I'm doing it by myself, I can really just record the clips of the news and already put it out. Like the Jay-Z one, I already put it on my main channel. Now I'm recording the podcast and we're just going to clip it into this main full podcast episode. So it just, for the people that consume the full podcast, you guys are getting full episodes, but the clips are already out. Like some of the clips will already be out. Whereas like right now I'm recording some of the new stuff right now, the news that's happening. So with that being said, the new schedule is once a week now. Every Friday, a new episode comes out. The reason why I chose Fridays is because if I stuck to Mondays, the issue with that is I would have to record an episode usually Sunday night or Monday morning. And the problem with that is I've had to do a lot of artist interviews on weekends, and sometimes it's on a Sunday. And then what does that happen? If I have to travel, like when I did Hot Rod, I think it was on a Sunday or Saturday night or something like that. I had to travel to Arizona, sit with them, all night till like 4 a.m, fly back, and you're just exhausted, tired. You're trying to record the podcast too. And sometimes it's on a Sunday night and you have to like rush because there's been a lot of Sundays where I'm doing something and then I got to rush and do the podcast that night. And I don't want that, on the weekends to have to do that. So that's why I would have preferred a Monday episode because you guys would have started your week with the podcast, which would have been great. But I think a Friday is good too, man. You're ending off, the business days of Monday through Friday and you get to listen to the podcast. Great, right? So that's why I'm choosing that because Thursday night, there's been rare times where my Thursday night has been occupied with traveling or anything else. So Thursday nights I will record it, and then Friday the time is also changing of when the podcast is premiering on YouTube. So it'll go from 6 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern, just an hour shift, because the podcast will be probably a lot longer, that one episode, instead of these episodes where they're maybe an hour each or 40 minutes to an hour each. Sometimes they go a little bit over an hour, but 2 episodes have usually been between 40 to 1 hour each. So this one might be an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know. I can't speak to it. We'll see. But this is the final episode that's coming out on this day of Thursday. And then the next episode will be the final episode that comes out on Monday. And then that's when the schedule shifts. So it will shift on, let me see what the actual date is so I can make it really clear to you guys. And I will say this on the next episode. Why do I keep mistalking? I think my mouth is dry, but I'll say this on the next episode as well. So April 3rd is when the new schedule comes. So that will be the first. And funny enough, it's a Good Friday is what it's called. So that's good luck, man. I hope that's good luck for the podcast. So April 3rd, every Friday from then will be one episode of the podcast. And if you guys want the clips and news immediately, follow the main channel. Obviously, follow the podcast on YouTube, and those clips will be on there. So I'll be talking about current topics at that moment, recording the clip, and then we'll splice it all together for the full episode. So that's the new schedule. Like I said, man, I wish I could explain why. I just basically just know that, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, and I'm really excited about it. And it's basically everything that I wanted to happen in my life is happening. It's just there's so much going on that there's nothing I can, speak on. There is some new stuff that's happening with that platform that I was talking about where it's just my voiceover. We're going to have that documentary come out very soon. I will be promoting that as well, on social media, on the podcast. So that is coming there. And in general, it just frees up a little bit more of my time, right? I can focus like when I wake up in the morning, I can look at the news, I can record a quick clip, put it out, and then I don't have to worry about later on that day having to record a full episode as well, because that takes up time. Usually these full episodes, I'm here looking at news, looking at things, what am I talking about, organize it, and then, so it takes 4 to 5 hours to record it, first to get the news, organize it, record it, and then send it to my editor. So that takes a good amount of time, man. And every night or every Wednesday night and Sunday night having to do that was occupying a good amount of the time. And it was just, like I said, overkill. It was unnecessary to do that many episodes for just me being on the podcast. Like I said, if I had a co-host, it made sense at that time because, with the co-host, they can't record immediately when I'm recording. I can record by myself. I can record whenever, however, and just start. So there's really no need to have it spread out like that. So yeah, that's the new schedule. I hope you guys are happy with it. Same podcast. I will try to do a lot more on those episodes and fill it up with at least an hour and 30 minutes, 2 hours. So you guys are at least getting 2 separate episodes into one and getting, a lot more content on there. And that'll be another thing too. I'll be able to dedicate that Thursday night exclusively, or that Thursday afternoon exclusively to the podcast, where I'll be able to plan better if I do my top 10 lists and all this stuff. Because with these 2 episodes, sometimes it gets, screwed around because, oh shit, there's a bunch of news happening and I got to fit this in this episode. And then the next episode, there's nothing happening. It's it just gets all scrambled around, So that's, the update on the podcast. So look out for it. I think it's April 2nd. I messed this up. April 3rd, Friday, will be the first episode that comes out on the new schedule. At 7 p.m. Eastern is when the podcast video version at least comes out on YouTube. I believe on audio, we might have it out a little bit earlier, but I don't know. Ivan is usually the one that does that and uploads that. So we'll try to even get it out in the morning, if possible, on Friday morning. So people that listen to audio, they can wake up and just have the episode. We'll see if that's doable. But that's the new schedule, and I'm excited, man. And the funny thing is that actually lands on the 400th episode. I didn't even plan on that. I wasn't even thinking about that, but right on the 400th episode is when the new schedule starts. So every Friday, a new podcast episode. And yeah, I'm excited. All right, let's get into the news. Rihanna's house shooter, has pleaded not guilty. So let's go over what's going on here. Her name is interesting. Ivana Lisette Ortiz, the woman police have accused of allegedly shooting at Rihanna's home in Beverly Hills, has pleaded not guilty to the crime. According to the Los Angeles Times, she entered the plea in court on Wednesday, March 25th, while facing numerous charges, including attempted murder. She is currently residing behind bars on a $1.875 million bail and could end up facing life in prison. Authorities originally arrested Ortiz shortly after the attack, in which she allegedly fired 10 shots at Rihanna's property from her car. The singer and her partner, A$AP Rocky, hid inside a camper in the driveway during the incident. Overall, Ortiz faces 1 count of attempted murder, 10 felony counts of assault with semi-automatic firearm, 3 felony counts of shooting in inhabitated dwelling or camper. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman explained the charges in a press conference days after the shooting. Rihanna was there with her partner, her 3 children, her mother, and 2 staff people, representing 8 of the 10 of the counts of dealing with an assault with semi-automatic firearm, he said at the time. In addition, Miss Ortiz is accused of firing at a neighboring residence that had 2 additional individuals. Damn. She was a psychopath, man. It's unclear exactly why Ivana would have wanted to shoot Rihanna, but shortly after her arrest, several of her concerning Facebook posts began going viral on social media. Bad gal Riri, are you there? Because I was waiting for your AIDS 5-head self to say something to me directly instead of sneaking around like you talking to me where I'm not at, she wrote in one of them. Yeah, that's a mental health problem. This girl's facing a mental health problem because that is like insane. LAPD Chief Jim McDonald confirmed that authorities were later aware of her bizarre social media posts. My understanding is the person drove here from Florida. How long they've been in the area, I don't have that information. He said they're working on that. That would be part of the whole motive, why the person came out here. We haven't established a motive. We do know and are aware of social media posts that have been made that they're looking into further. So, yeah, she pleaded not guilty. Of course, that's pretty expected. It's rare that any female takes accountability. No joke, just fucking around. But it's rare that any person really pleads guilty when these things happen because they want to try to get out of the situation. But hey, man, they arrested you. You're probably there at the time. Your phone probably tracks you at the time there. So, I mean, could she plead insanity and mental health and all these things? Yes. So that could, I don't know about reduce her time, but that could help her to a certain extent with not at least facing life in prison, right? Because that bail is crazy. 1.8 million is like astronomical. She's never getting out because what is 10% of 1.8 million? If my math is right, it's 180,000. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm terrible at math. So, or is it 100? Yeah, it's probably 180,000. So does she have 180,000? I highly doubt it. I just, so, and I doubt she can even pay the bail. I'm pretty sure it's like a non-bailable offense, but yeah, that's the update on that. Not guilty on her end. That's what she's pleading. So we'll see what happens as the, trial and all this happens, which is probably going to be 2-3 years down the line. So just be on the lookout for that. This I wanted to cover because it's good news. And I want to give people their props for doing great things. So shout out to NBA YoungBoy. He decided to cover funeral costs for a local 10-year-old girl. So this is fairly sad. And shout out to NBA YoungBoy for actually helping out. Earlier this month, a gut-wrenching tragedy struck Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A local 10-year-old girl, Kimani Thomas, was the victim of an accidental shooting in a Sonic parking lot. WBRZ reports that as the child's mom and stepfather were exchanging shifts inside the restaurant, Thomas's 8-year-old sibling found a gun inside the car. The younger relative was able to pull the trigger and subsequently land a shot on Thomas, who was outside the vehicle playing. Thomas sadly passed away a little while after suffering her wounds. With all the horrible things going on in the world, this is the last bit of news that needed to surface, but NBA YoungBoy is stepping up in a big way for his grieving family. The news outlet also shares that the hometown rapper is covering the funeral costs. Thomas's mother was emotional but elated to find this out, spreading the word about YB's amazing deed on her social media. She said, I know Baton Rouge love to say all the bad things people do, but I want to be the first to publicly say thanks to NBA YoungBoy and whoever may be a part of his team tonight. As I type this with tears in my eyes, my baby Kimani funeral is officially paid for. Round of applause, man, to NBA YoungBoy. That's what you do with all the money and success that you have. You help, individuals out, especially in a tragedy like this. Making this development all the more heartwarming is that Thomas's favorite rapper was indeed NBA YoungBoy. I know she's dancing her tail off, full of joy, the mom added. Overall, this is just a great thing to hear now, and we are sending our best to Kimani's family. We hope that they can recover as fast as possible. I hope as well. That is great news, man. So I just wanted to cover it. Shout out to NBA YoungBoy for being a stand-up individual in this tragic situation. Continuing on, Tiny, T.I.'s wife, decided to stop by the Breakfast Club, and she talked about the incident that happened with 50 Cent of her getting dragged into the beef. And she talks about her sons being involved in the beef and jumping in, and about how far did King take it, and her having to call him and say, hey, take this post down, stop talking about, 50's dead mother, so on and so forth. So check out this clip.
Recently saw, you talk about Damani being, edgy, King. We saw their responses with the whole 50 Cent situation. And I heard T.I. say how he didn't like to see them do that. How did you feel when you saw Damani and King hopping online to defend you with 50 Cent?
It was a, proud moment that they want to speak up for their mom. But at And I felt like the songs was really good, especially the money when he went in with the Miss Jackson. I was like, dang, where did this come from? This is amazing. So, but King, you know, my son, and he took it very personal. And he just was like going so far. And I kept calling King, take this down right now. He was like, nah, I can't, mama. And I'm like, what? And I just couldn't get him to listen to me. Like, he's like, nah. Yeah. I mean, I was like, listen, this child ain't had nothing to do with nothing. He said, and you didn't have nothing to do with nothing. So I was like, okay. Then I see something else. Can you please take the video down with the shirt on? He's like, nah, I got this, Mom. You just gonna have to stay down because you know you should not have been dragged in this.
You should not.
And he was like, you know, I could have said something about, you know, I know he loves his grandmama, but he didn't talk about my grandma, so I didn't talk about his grandma. So you know, I was like, okay, I can't control this kid.
When you are dragged into those things, how does that personally make you feel?
And I really didn't give a damn. And you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I had already told my assistant, I said, he's going to bring me in this. I already knew it was coming, you know, but it came. So I was expecting it. Nobody else, I don't think, was expecting it. So, yeah.
And feeling like that, do you feel like 50 Cent went too far? Or is it like...
I mean, I feel like you should have kept the beef with the man you was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Why is you bringing his woman into it? Because you are dealing with a man. You a man. You dealing with the man. Deal with the man. You ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't got nothing to do with this. Like, who goes after the woman? Yeah. That's crazy. Regardless of whatever you thought, it's crazy. You should be dealing with the man. This y'all beef, right? Okay. Yeah.
Nicely said. I think them not being able to control King is not a good thing. You know, as parents, it doesn't matter how old you get. Like me, I would, if my parents respectfully were like, hey, this is too far. I'm not proud of you for doing this. Take this down. I would listen to my parents, regardless of my age. I just have a different, you know, I guess I was raised differently with different morals and values and respect. Them saying, hey, I reached out, you know, T.I. said the same thing. I hit up, you know, King and was like, nah, I don't approve of this. And then his mom says the same thing. And he doesn't listen to either of them. That's not a good sign in terms of raising your kids, but that's their life. You know, I'm not going to pry into their personal life. I don't like doing that, but I'm not really, you know, I would not like that as a parent. You know, I feel like I failed as a parent if my kid just does whatever they want to do. I get where King is coming from, though. You know, to a certain extent, it was warranted. To a certain extent, it wasn't. You know, 50 never really, like, this crazy thing in all this is 50 legitimately just posted a screenshot of a bad-looking video of her, like a video that just made her look like her angle was bad of the person that shot it, and it made her body look bad. And he didn't even say anything in the caption. He just said, hey, keep my name at your mouth, and he was directing it to T.I. But he got the whole family mad at that because they know the joke, the underlying joke that nobody wants to be really forward about is that Tiny gets made fun of her looks. Like, a lot of people have done that online. That's just what it is. And 50 was just like saying, hey, this is the joke. And it was something that was not even spoken. Like, 50 didn't even type it in and be like, yo, she's ugly or nothing. You know, so that's the crazy thing about this is everybody knows what it is. Like, the whole internet knows why they reacted the way they reacted. So 50 got the whole family mad over something that everybody has said online, that people generally know already. So that's the interesting part about it. But Tiny's response was very, very cool, respectful. And Tiny just seems like a genuinely good person, man. People are going to poke fun at everything about everybody online about something. It just is what it is, man. That's the internet. 50 just legitimately just went with what the internet said without saying a single word. And the whole family got an uproar and mad. But, hey, dragging, I guess, people's wife makes sense. You know, don't do that. But 50 at a certain point was like, hey, man, I'm telling this grown man to leave me alone, to stop asking for verses. How else can I get this guy to, like, leave me alone? That's really what it was. That's the way I view it, is like, T.I. just kept pressing for this verse, kept calling 50 out. So 50's just like, yo, you're not listening to me saying to you, I don't want to fuck with you. I don't want to do a verses. So I guess I got to, like, throw somebody else in here that you know, have love for. So maybe you'll change your mind and stop mentioning my name. That's where I think that all came from. But, that never gets mentioned in these interviews. Like, say, hey, what about T.I. constantly pressing him? 50 constantly saying no to T.I. Why didn't T.I. just stop at that point, But, people don't, that's the problem with a lot of these interviews is people don't push back. They don't like, hey, nah, this is kind of how it happened. And, why this, why that? So, yeah, like I said, if I ever got the 50 interview, that's exactly what I'd be like. I'd be like, listen, like, you told him this. And it might seem like, oh, you're dick riding 50, this and that. But that's literally the history of it. Like 50 just said, hey, I don't want to do this versus. Stop mentioning my name over and over. Like you can find interviews from 2020, 2021, where 50 is like, I don't want to do the verses. I don't want to do it. And yet in 2026, he is still brought up for it. So that's the whole gist of that. But, Tiny's response to it was interesting and very respectful. Jay-Z has officially decided he is going on the offense instead of the defense for the year of 2026. Jay-Z has stopped by for a rare interview with GQ magazine, and they did two versions. They did an article version, which is the same as the video version. And obviously, more people are going to watch the video version than read the article version. So let's go over this interview, what he addresses, what he doesn't address, and more. Immediately off the rip, he addresses the accusation that was done between him and Diddy by the Busby lawyer. And he says off the rip that it hurt his whole 2025 and that, he never grew up with those, rules and morals. So I'm going to go over the article because the video has a little bit of details that's left out. In the article, it's a little more detailed. He says this. The person asks, how would you rate your 2025? Jay-Z says, it was hard, really hard. I was heartbroken. I'm glad we got right to that so we could just get that out the way. Like I was really heartbroken by everything that occurred. We're in a space now where it's almost like consequence is not thought about enough because everything is so instant. You know what I'm saying? The whole lawsuit thing, that shit took a lot out of me. I was angry. I haven't been that angry in a long time. Uncontrollable anger. You don't put that on someone. That's a thing. You better be super sure. It used to be like that. You had to be super sure before you put those kinds of things on a person, especially a person like me. Even when we're doing the worst things, we had those kind of rules. There was a line, no women, no kids. You hear those sayings, but those are the things that I took from the street. We lived and died by that. So it's strict for me, like it meant a lot to me. I took that really hard. I knew that we were going to walk through that because, first of all, it's not true. And the truth at the end of the day still reigns supreme. So there's that, right? He's just saying, hey, I never, grew up doing those type of things. I would never do those type of things. So he was willing to go fully through with the whole lawsuit and, defend himself in court. But ultimately, the lawsuit got dropped because there was not enough evidence. And, when you sue somebody, you better come with some type of evidence that this person actually did this. So it's cool that he addressed that immediately off the jump, that he wasn't ducking no smoke, no, soft ball questions. That's one thing I liked about this interview, that it was pretty, it wasn't like crazy questions left and right, but it was, decently asked questions that, hey, let me address these things that people have said about me. Going on further, he actually talks about his role in the NFL Super Bowl halftime show and the backlash that he got for choosing Kendrick Lamar over somebody else for the Super Bowl halftime show. Because a lot of people have said that he secretly hates Drake and that he chose Kendrick Lamar to further destroy Drake's legacy in his career. And a lot of people also got mad at him not choosing Lil Wayne over Kendrick Lamar because the show was in New Orleans, where Lil Wayne's hometown is at. So a lot of people wanted Lil Wayne to perform in his hometown for the Super Bowl instead of Kendrick Lamar. So he addresses that in this clip. Check it out.
When we're talking about putting on for the culture, what does it mean to you to be at the helm of a cultural event so important as the Super Bowl?
I think everyone should experience music in its totality. And for a lot of years, it was only one side of music that was being represented.
Yeah.
And we got the opportunity to create a more balanced idea of what popular music is today.
Yeah.
I'm not going out on a limb. It's the most famous people in the world.
Statistically supported.
It's like, I'm not like, I didn't pick like the indie artist that I really like from Portland. The #1 streamed artist in the world. Him.
People made it a personal thing that you chose Kendrick for the Super Bowl. It's like, oh man, he's choosing the side and he's he's not.
Like I don't have what do I have to do with that? I chose the guy that was having a monster year. I think it was the right choice.
Word.
It wasn't in some sort of alliance to a battle. I don't.
Yeah.
What I care about them two guys battling, like what's that got to do with me?
Word.
Have at it. Have fun. It's almost like not on just me, by the way. They drag everybody in it. Like everyone's part of this conspiracy to undermine Drake, I guess. But like, what the like what? I'm Jay-Z. or due respect to him. I'm old. Do respectfully.
Word.
Like for what? To what end?
Yeah.
It couldn't be that these guys just don't like each other.
Yeah.
And I think they haven't liked each other for a long time.
So there you have it. Jay-Z is basically saying that, hey, I got into the NFL Super Bowl to add more diversity because there wasn't enough representation of current music, which is obviously hip hop. And then, he like bragfully, talks about I'm Hove, I'm Jay-Z. Why would I, have to do these things? But, we've heard a lot of behind the scenes of him doing this petty stuff. So it doesn't matter, like, just because you're a billionaire or you're Jay-Z or, you can still be a petty person and do things behind the scenes towards someone to protect your legacy or to do, whatever you feel like doing. So that whole argument is like, I'm Jay-Z. It's like when Drake said that, I'm Drake. Why would I need to, get with underage girls? It's like, so what? R. Kelly did it. Like, what do you mean I'm Drake? I'm a celebrity. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't get with an underage girl. I'm not saying that Drake did, but I'm just, using that as an example. Like Jay-Z saying, hey, I'm Jay-Z. This is why, I wouldn't do this. I'm just Jay-Z. Like, why would I have to do this? Like, that's a bad excuse, But I get where he's coming from. He's saying that, like, hey, I got other things to worry about. Their battle back and forth has been brewing for a long time. It's got nothing to do with me. And that, Kendrick just had a massive year and he deserved that time at the Super Bowl, which I can agree. Kendrick's year was great because of the Drake battle, though. It wasn't because Kendrick came out and dropped an amazing album that year. It was because he decided to jump out on the Metro Boomin project and diss Drake. And then because of the Drake battle, he had a massive year. Continuing on, though, he talks about something very interesting. And in this clip, he talks about what he thinks about the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar battle. In this clip, he breaks down the 4 pillars of hip hop. And he says it's breakdancing, battling, graffiti, and the DJ. And he basically breaks down each one and says, hey, this one died, this one died, this one died. But the only one that survived is the battling. And he feels like potentially that's the one that needs to be going away as well. So check out the clip.
But as someone who was part of probably the genre's biggest rap beef.
Well, until now.
As a spectator, what did you think of the 2024 back and forth between him and Drake?
I'm going to have an answer you're not going to like.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you're going to like us. That's presumptuous. I think that, look, there was 4 pillars of hip hop. There are 4 pillars of hip hop, right?
Yep.
There's breakdancing.
Yep.
And it's graffiti.
Yep.
There's DJing and battling.
Yep.
Breakdance is not at the forefront of rap anymore. It's actually an Olympics sport. So that's dead. Graffiti.
Yeah.
Beautiful, in certain places.
Yeah.
And even in major art and like Keith Haring.
Yeah, yeah.
And Basquiat, actually, a street artist.
Yeah.
Took it to a next level. It's not part of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
DJing. The DJ was in the forefront. It was Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Right, yeah.
Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah.
You don't even know the DJ for half of the artists anymore. Who's Drake DJ? I have no idea. Okay.
Couldn't tell you off top.
That no longer exists. And the last pillar is battling. We love the excitement. And I love the sparring and the music you get. Mm-hmm. But in this day and age, it's so much negative stuff that comes with it that you almost wish it didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, because it's almost like it's a final thing. Now people that like Kendrick hate Drake.
Yeah.
No matter what he makes, no matter what he says, and it goes far too. It's like attack on his character and his thing and it's like, I don't know if I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's helpful to our growth. where the fallout lands, especially on on social media, which takes place every day.
Yeah.
And now you have these pods of cult.
The Stan armies fighting.
Yeah, and it's like it's too far.
Yeah.
It's like bringing kids in it.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't like that. Maybe I've grown in a space that is probably, I sound like the old guy wagging the finger. But I think we can achieve the same thing as far as like sparring with music, with collaborations more so than breaking the whole thing apart.
Yeah.
It could stand it before because there was no social media and there was no thing. And, you had the battle and it was fun and then you moved on.
Right.
Right now, I don't know if it could stand it with the technology that we have.
Because it takes up so much oxygen.
It takes up so much oxygen.
Yeah.
And now it's just like every day they're just trying
they're
to
still talking about it.
It's not just talking about it. Not like, yo, this song, I like this.
Yeah.
No, it's like trying to tear down the people's life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like trying to, wreck this guy's marriage or this guy's relationship with his child. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's worth it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Again, I love the idea that we got so much music in such a short period of time.
Great music.
Just everything around it was just like, man, it's like taking us a couple steps back.
Yeah.
And we just grown so much that I don't know if, I guess I'm gonna say it, I don't know if battling needs to be part of the culture anymore.
Interesting.
I hate that I have this point of view. I do, because I know what it sounds like. I know what it feels like. I hate it.
I think he has a valid point when it comes to, how far some of these things go. And right now, the effects of the Drake and Kendrick beef are horrible. Like, the stands have taken it to a level where it's just become very disrespectful. And every bar that either Kendrick or Drake raps now is going to be dissected into thinking that they're sending subliminals to each other. From now on forward, and even before it was that, but now it's like, okay, they actually hate each other. They had a beef. Now we know they hate each other 100%. There's no subliminals that we think are bars towards somebody. Now it's like, okay, every bar is going to be dissected and assumed that, hey, this is a diss towards him. This is a diss towards him. And the stands have taken it to levels that is astronomically, like, just horrible. I'm disgusted with it. I don't even want to hear about the Drake and Kendrick beef anymore because it's just become that corny. Like, it should have been about the music, the diss tracks, and that's it. And after the battle's done, hey, you make your decision on who won and who didn't and move on from it. No more discussing, because there's stands still on social media going back and forth. Oh, Kendrick's using bots, Drake's using bots. Oh, this and that. Oh, I dug up this information. Like, that being that invested into a battle is like unhealthy. Move on from it. It happened. You have your side of who you think win and lost, and that's it. Move on from it. So I agree with that aspect. I think it probably did more harm than good. But we'll see, I guess, as the years go on. I hope that, this kind of people move on, as time goes on. But I highly doubt it. I think it's going to get even worse as time goes on. Maybe Drake's going to feed into it more because he feels like he lost in the public eye, and he might end up sending more subliminals so than Kendrick does. So if Kendrick and Drake feed into it, is just going to be worse on their stand side of their fan base. And then Jay-Z makes an interesting comparison between his beef with Nas, with Drake, and Kendrick Lamar. He says that both beefs were brewing for a long time. I'm glad Jay-Z officially addressed that because I don't know if he ever did in the past. He was like, hey, okay, yeah, this beef has been brewing for a long time with Nas. We had little subliminals back and forth, and then we finally clashed. And the same thing happened with Drake and Kendrick. That's why I reference the two beefs a lot. Even in my Nas and Jay-Z documentary I made, I make reference to Drake and Kendrick potentially beefing because I saw it from a mile away. They were sending subliminals at each other. Anybody that's actually invested in hip-hop could see that. So I didn't predict it. A lot of people have commented in that documentary that I made with Nas and Jay-Z that I predicted the Drake and Kendrick beef. No, I was just paying attention to the bars, and it made it very clear that, they were sending subliminals to each other. So that comparison is very warranted. So check out what Jay-Z says in this clip.
I think this has been brewing, just like me and Nas was brewing.
Yeah.
It didn't happen at the Summer Jam. That happened. The Lexington TV sets, the minimum, whatever. It was a whole bunch of stuff leading up to that point.
Mint Fleek, what is the Mint Fleek slugs in your hat, right?
It was slugs in your head. It was a bunch of like little things that led up to that point. And then when it happened, I actually regret that because I really like Nas. He's a really nice guy.
And then he addressed his relationship with J. Cole, which was interesting because he kind of hinted at them not being cool with each other. He said, in the clip, he says, well, there's some weird things going on with the auditing. So that's very interesting that J. Cole is auditing Roc Nation. Maybe he feels like there's some money that he's owed that he didn't get. Or, artists, any smart artist audits the label eventually. 50 did it. I'm pretty sure Eminem has done it to his extent. I'm pretty sure, all the major smart artists at least have done it, where they audit the record label, see where the money's at, if the money's actually good, if he's getting everything, his rights that he's owed and all that stuff. So check out this clip.
An artist's expression should be their expression. I really fall back. That's what I think what happened with Cole. Like just the narrative around Cole is that we didn't love Cole. No, we believed in him enough to let him find his journey.
Yeah.
And he found his path. It took him a minute. Yeah. But he found his way.
What is your relationship with Cole like these days?
Obviously there's things behind the scenes with, like audits and shit like that gets complicated. Yeah. But I think given a chance to prove that you're above board is an opportunity.
Word.
So I don't have any negative feelings for him. I'm actually super proud of him and what he's done.
It sounds like you're still, like, when you came in, we were talking about the mixtape, like you're still engaging with the work as a fan, too.
Yeah, Clue sent it to me, actually.
Oh, word?
Clue, not Cole.
Yeah?
He sent it to me because he's proud, right? Yeah. Think about Clue. Like, he have, like, a resurgence behind it.
Yeah.
Like I said, very interesting that he said that. I mean, he gives, obviously, J. Cole his props and says that he wishes him nothing but the best. But J. Cole, there's been bars on the fall off that people have kind of dissected and been like, maybe he's dissing Roc Nation and Jay-Z because he doesn't like, what he saw behind the scenes potentially when it comes to his deal. So that's like speculation. But Jay-Z kind of throwing that in there and addressing that was really interesting because he didn't have to say that. He could have just been like, hey, me and J. Cole's relationship is cool. And then he also said in the clip, if you guys heard it, he was like, Clue sent me the mixtape that J. Cole made, not J. Cole. So he made it very clear that me and J. Cole aren't talking. That was Clue that sent me the clip. So that's interesting to that extent. And the last thing he addresses is if he's going to drop new music. And he says that he was in a very dark, weird place when he was making music. So he's like, I want to get out of that and get more into a, clear-headed space. So then when I do record music and it drops, it's more of what I'm feeling at the moment. So check this out.
I mean, just to be like, a small cog in that wheel. I'm getting out that creativity. But again, I was just so like heavy. And I don't know how to make music that's not reflective of how I'm feeling at the moment. It would have been fiery, but I don't know. I don't know if it's done more harm than good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Because, I have a lot of like scratch ideas and they like all bad. I gotta be honest, they're bad. It's just like all bad.
That's it for this Jay-Z GQ interview. Let me know what you guys think. This is very clear that he's going to drop music pretty soon here because him saying he's on the offense this year instead of the defense, to me, indicates that he's going to release some stuff. We don't know when. I'm pretty sure during the summer, maybe even the fall, because he's doing those little special dates and tours, shows that he's doing on the Roots. And he's got those 1-2 shows for the Blueprint and the Reasonable Doubt album. So it's going to be interesting to see, man, what he drops and what he does this year. I think a lot of artists are going to be dropping this year. I know Drake is getting ready. Jay-Z. We're hearing whispers of 50 with the Algorithm project that he might drop. Maybe Eminem. I don't know. There's going to be probably some artists that really release albums this year. We have J. Cole already, so maybe Kendrick's going to drop. Regardless, I'm excited, man. New music from artists that I actually listened to. Instead of these newer guys dropping it, I'm be honest with you, I don't really rock with a lot of the newer artists' music. They just don't make great music like that. No disrespect to a lot of the newer artists, but I just don't really care. I'm more hyped about Jay-Z or Kanye or, J. Cole, Kendrick, 50, Game, Jeezy, these late 90s, early 2000s artists dropping than, these newer generations, really, to be honest with you. So Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about this J. Cole interview on Cameron's Talk with Flea podcast. And first, literally the interview starts out with them talking about the lawsuit. And J. Cole mainly talks throughout this. He basically says that, hey, we did the verse, whatever, that Cameron did the work for him, the verse and the skit or whatever. And J. Cole feels like it wasn't a trade-off. It was just, hey, he did this. J. Cole wanted to pay him. Like, he was like, hit me up with the lawyer information, but Cameron was like, nah, you're all good. It's on the house, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't think of it as like a trade-off. He just thought of like, okay, Cameron did it for me, much respect. And then Cameron later hit him up and was like, hey, can we do an interview, on the platform? He's like, I don't want to do a verse on a song, but I want you to come on my platform and do an interview because you never do interviews. J. Cole was like, all right, this is not the right time. If I'm going to do the interview, I want to be, talking about my album, my music, if I got something to promote. And that was in 2022. So mind you, this is 2026. That's a 4-year gap. And basically Cole said that, hey, J. Cole would tell him, hey, okay, on June, we'll talk about this, again. So let's just say June 2022. He's like, the second June hit, Cameron would text him right in the morning, June 1st, hey, are we doing this interview? J. Cole would repeatedly say, hey, I can't right now. It's not the right time. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, constantly repeating this. And then Cole at one point felt bad that like he would constantly say no and say that we'd have to do this at a different time. So he called Cameron and said, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about it instead of texting you all the time. I can't do it right now because of this. Cameron respected it because he was like, okay, you don't got anything to promote. Why do an interview, right? Then the whole Drake and Kendrick thing happens, and then that's why J. Cole didn't want to do an interview as well, because that's the first thing that people would want to hear, right? If J. Cole did an interview with Cameron after the 7-minute drill or after he apologized or after all that, that would be the main thing that people would talk about. It would not be the music. So then that's another reason why the interview got pushed back, because of all that drama. And then like there was just times where he was like, I was trying to mix and master the album, and I was doing these tape deck versions and all this stuff that just delayed. And Cameron said, hey, because of all these delays, he was like, I did the lawsuit just to get your attention. It wasn't to like try to get something out of the situation. He was like, I just didn't know what to do. I constantly kept texting you for this interview, and you would blow it off and say another time. So he's like, that's the reason why I sued you. And then J. Cole basically just said, had always had intentions to do the interview, regardless of you, getting upset with me, constantly pushing it back. But that's the industry for you. Like, legitimately, that is a perfect example that even Cameron has to deal with bullshit like that. And that's Cameron. With these artists, you will legitimately text them, ask them for an interview. They'll say, yeah, I got you. And it happened with me with YoungBoy, unfortunately. But YoungBoy was dealing a lot of personal things, so I can kind of understand. But with YoungBoy, it was the same situation where, man, are we getting this interview done? When is this interview happening? Is this blah, blah, blah? I need to get this interview, And it just never happened until I finally was like, all right, I'm going to go to you, after he was dealing with all his legal stuff and he got out. I was like, I'll just go to you. Can we make this interview happen? And then within like 2 to 3 reschedules, it finally happened. But that happens. That's just, I don't know why. It's like these artists just never happen. I get the J. Cole situation, but that's a long ass wait, bro. 4 years of waiting to do an interview. That's a long, long time. And ultimately, J. Cole never saw it as a trade-off. J. Cole was like, you did the song for me. He released the song in 2024. So he did the song in 2022, Cameron did, and released it in 2024. So basically in 2024 is when you could ask and count for the interview, and be like, oh, I need an interview because you dropped the song. Now it's officially out there. Now I would like an interview. But, he was counting 2022 till now. So, technically it was a 2-year wait instead of the 4-year wait. But that was the back and forth on that, which is really cool. But I want to talk about another thing that he, because there's only so much I can play from this interview without getting copyrighted. So I don't want to drop all these parts of the interview in this podcast, basically review of it. But he talked about a moment where he almost was, or at least Sha Money XL and everyone around G Unit at the time was trying to get 50 to listen to J. Cole and try to sign him to G Unit. So check this out.
Is there anybody before Jay that you seen that celebrity-wise the man shut you down, or your mom was just strictly get the Rock Nation or Jay-Z or whatever?
You know what? Rock Nation didn't exist at that time, but me standing outside for Jay, it wasn't me trying to get a deal. Right. I make beats too, so it's like, in my mind, I'm like, damn, I seen Kanye like got in with the producing first,
Right.
maybe that's an end for me. And the news had dropped that Jay was working on American Gangster.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But the article was saying he wasn't necessarily done. Like,
Right.
so in my mind, I'm like, I'm ambitious. You know what I mean? I believe in myself. So I'm like, I was at work. I'm like, yo, as soon as I got home, I made 2 beats, threw a hook on one, put 7 other beats on the CD. I put the American Gangster cover on it. Like I slid that in the CD book over my volume 3. I had a volume 3 or volume 2. So I took the cover out, put his American Gangster cover in, black and white, little printed version, and stood outside trying to get him a beat CD with a hook on it, thinking if he in my mind, he was gonna go upstairs, put the CD in, hear it, go get that young kid from outside, you know what I mean? So I thought that, I wasn't even thinking about it signing to Jay-Z. I was just thinking like, oh, maybe I can get my beats off, you know what I mean, and get on like that. I only thought about signing a Def Jam or to a label. I never thought about a Jay-Z or something like that, but it worked out for me.
But that's what I'm saying. Was it only, nobody ever said, out of here? Did you see anybody else celebrity-wise that you may have tried to get on to, but that was just your focus?
Nah. I will say, no, nobody ever hit on me or dubbed me.
Right.
But I do know that at one point in time, 50, I think Shy Money and shout to G-Unit Hove from Queens.
Right.
They was trying to put, I think, 50 on to my, you know what I mean? This is around the time, right before, when I was knowing Mark, before Jay had heard my and I think they played my for 50. And what I was told his response was like, mind you, I had like I had this song called Lost Ones. I had Lights Please. I had Simba. I had hard too, like where you could tell I could really rap.
Right.
And I think 50 reaction from what I heard was, I can't sign his jeans too tight.
Are you going off the image, right?
Right. I mean, I get it too, because I mean, guess what? That's when it made no sense, me going to G-Unit, you know what I mean? But shout to Shy Money, you know what I mean, and Hov, who seen the vision,
right?
You know what I mean?
So that was cool to hear from J. Cole's mouth, because I heard Shy Money talk about it, and I've heard it here and there. I don't think J. Cole has directly talked about it. He might have, but it might have been like in a magazine interview or something like that. So that was really cool, and it made sense, man. I think 50 at the time, this was because J. Cole dropped Lights Please and all this stuff he was recording in around 2008. So 50 at the time had signed Hot Rod in 2006. And Hot Rod wasn't a gangster. So a lot of people were like, oh, he didn't sign J. Cole because he's not a gangster. No, that's not what 50 was. Hot Rod wasn't a gangster, but he was doing the style that was cool at the time with the baggy jeans and stuff like that. The look was still G-Unit, but it didn't have the gangster image, is what I'm saying with Hot Rod. He still had that look of G-Unit, but he didn't have the gangster image. So I think if J. Cole would have came with the G-Unit look still, I think 50 would have been more cool with it. But I don't know. I don't think J. Cole on G-Unit would have did what it was supposed to. If only Shy Money was still involved with G-Unit, I think J. Cole would have excelled. But if Shy Money would have been out of it, which he was around that time, he was starting to leave G-Unit Records and not be a part of it, it would have not worked. I don't think 50 would have been able to kind of guide J. Cole to what to do, or who knows, man. If he would have been hands off, who knows if J. Cole would have had the proper push with G-Unit Records like that. Because G-Unit at that time in 2008 was having its own issues with Interscope Records, and at that time they only had the G-Unit group album that came out with TOS, and then after that, essentially G-Unit was dropped as like a record label, working with Interscope, so they didn't have that major push, whereas Jay-Z with Rockefeller and Rock Nation, he still had that major push with record labels. Yeah, that's interesting. I think it just planned out and worked out the way it's supposed to. J. Cole signing with Jay-Z just made more sense. And he broke down one of the things that kind of seemed weird in the Jay-Z interview, where he talks about the auditing and things get a little weird around there. In this J. Cole interview, he talks about being cool with Jay-Z still, and that Jay-Z gave him back his masters way earlier than he's supposed to. So check this out.
How was your experience working with Hov or getting to Rock Nation, being like the first artist over there? Mm-hmm. What was that like for you?
Honestly, bro, I think by that time, I missed the heyday that you got to experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? Y'all damn near missed it.
Yeah, we caught the tail end of it.
Tail end. Y'all caught when that nigga was probably on his way out. Like, man, y'all niggas have it. Like, I missed the era when it was actually like a real squad and like a real label based off of like a rap energy. So when I caught it was straight. I think I caught him on straight CEO mode, where it's just like, all right, look, I'm gonna sign this artist. I'm gonna spend X amount of money on him.
Right.
I'm gonna give him some time in my office and have a couple pep talks with him. But like, you got to go, it's sink or swim.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like for the
Yeah,
most
go
part,
do your thing.
I don't think he had the care, and I understand it at this point, to necessarily be like, you know, having his arm around me or coaching me up, which I appreciate because, you know, I prefer the way I got it, which was like on my own for the most part. Other than, of course, just the affiliation with him alone, life changing. Let alone the investment from his company.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like so. But other than that, trying to navigate the waters of how to blow and when to release or how to do it and bumping my head, that shit was like on me and on Eve and like on us.
Is that part of the reason that you said maybe I don't need to be here after a while and take your own thing to Interscope? Why didn't leave Rock Nation and go to Interscope?
Now first I went to Interscope with them.
Okay.
Because they had a deal with Columbia.
Right.
And then they deal with Sony was up. So they took me to the Universal on my last, on my last couple albums.
Right.
Then we converted it with Rock Nation from a record deal to like a distribution deal with them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And when that ran out, it's like, yo, we worked something else out. I think they got what they needed up out of me. I got what I needed up out of them. And it's like, it's you know.
So that was interesting because you got Jay-Z saying one thing in his interview, and it's kind of weird the way he says it. He's like, oh, you know, there's a lot of auditing and stuff like that. And then you got J. Cole saying, hey, I praise Jay-Z, you know, for getting me my masters back and all that. And throughout the interview, you talked about various other things like Kendrick Lamar having 2 tracks with J. Cole on the Fall Off that didn't make it on the album because of the whole beefs that happened. And I think he was going to get Drake on there, but he had a lot of interesting parts in this interview. So go ahead and check that out. I can't play all the clips, but there's a lot of cool, interesting moments that, were just dope to hear. Eminem's manager, Paul Rosenberg, and DJ Whoo Kid stopped by Tony Ayo and Uncle Murder's podcast, The Real Report. And they talked about a lot of interesting things. Like I said, I can't use too many clips because of copyright, but there are some cool parts. There's one part where Paul Rosenberg talks about 50 Cent at one point being a bigger artist than Eminem, which is no surprise. The only thing about this that was funny to me was that Eminem fans were like mad. Some Eminem fans were like mad at this. And I was like, why are you mad at the home team? Like, that's Eminem's artist being bigger than him at one point. That's true. I mean, in 2005, 50 was way bigger than Eminem. Eminem had a drug problem, didn't really release music. He dropped The Curtain Call, The Hits with, with the extra track, When I'm Gone. 2004, Encore didn't do as well as Give It Your Die Trying or The Massacre in between that. So yeah, 50 at that moment and his run was bigger than Eminem. I mean, that's no surprise. Nobody should be shocked. But obviously you can tell who lasted longer. So I don't know why I think somebody in the comments was like, oh, 50 never was bigger than Eminem with Marshall Mathers LP. You're like missing the whole fucking point. This is the problem. Paul Rosenberg is saying is at that time that 50 was out, he was bigger than Eminem. He's not saying overall he was bigger than Eminem. Obviously he wasn't. But during his run, he was bigger than Eminem, which should be a good thing. That's what Eminem was hoping for. He would not sign 50 to have him be, no disrespect, Obi Trice or Stat Quo or these other guys. He wanted a big hit, and he got that with 50. But another thing that he said was interesting, and this is something that I didn't really think about, man. It was something that I never, ever just didn't realize, man. I didn't like the way Paul Rosenberg worded this, I just never thought of it this way. So what I'm talking about is he gets asked the question, I think by Yayo or Murda, what is better, like physical CD sales or streaming? And he made such a good point that just flew over my head. I never thought about this. So the average fan per year would probably buy 3-4 CDs, from their artist. Maybe rebuy a CD if it got cracked or destroyed. But for the average fan, they would probably buy 4 to 5 CDs. 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 max. Unless you're a hardcore fan and you're just constant consuming music, you'd probably buy more. But let's just say average is 5. Let's just say me personally per year, I'd buy 2 CDs, maybe 3. Because obviously you could get it online, illegally download it, stuff like that. So I'd buy 2 CDs, let's just say a year. How much is that? Let's just say a CD is $10 to $15. Let's just go in the middle, $13 times 2, $26 a year off one consumer. Now he made an super interesting point. He said, now the consumer pays per month anywhere from $10 to $15. So now you got a consumer that's basically buying a CD every single month. So they're making way more money when you look at it. Because one, production cost is not there anymore. You don't have to pay for CDs, printing booklets, shipping, storage, all this stuff. It's all digital for the most part, besides vinyls, right? So that goes out the window. Then convenience, then easy distribution, all this stuff. And now you have each consumer, basically every month that I'm paying for Apple Music, I'm buying a CD. I never thought of it that way. It just mind blew me. So listen to Paul Rosenberg saying this.
I'll tell you what, streaming saved the music industry. Because if you recall, around 2015, right when streaming was starting, people weren't buying albums, right? Everybody was getting stuff for free. And there was no streaming. So there was no money pouring into the business at all, right?
Wow.
So all of a sudden streaming comes along. People start getting used to the idea that they can pay $10 a month or whatever it was to get everything, the whole history of recorded music, right? At their fingertips. So it's really, you're paying for the convenience of not having to download music, put it into iTunes, make sure it's labeled correctly, make your playlist. Like, you don't have to do any of that. It's all right there, right? So people it turns out, were willing to pay $10 a month for that convenience and for that service. And, when before we had people buying CDs maybe, every other month or, 5 times a year.
CD crack, you got to go buy the CD again if you really like it.
Yeah,
like
but they weren't buying one every month necessarily.
Gotcha.
But now, you have people locked in to pay that I think now it's $12.99, whatever it is, a month.
Right.
Right? And people kept adopting it. Streaming numbers went up and up and up. The audience grew. And all of a sudden, the industry's making money again, right? So it saved the music industry. And, at the time, before streaming, the music industry revenue had decreased to 50% of what it was. Most industries don't survive that. You can't survive a 50% decrease in revenue. But somehow, they held it together, and the major labels stayed together, and they made it through. So it really saved things in a lot of ways. And I know people complain about
what the
streaming
artists
rates,
get paid, what the artists get paid off of it.
But the same people complaining about that weren't really selling CDs either.
Facts. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. That's a hard fact right there.
So, of course, the artists who are the biggest are going to make the most money because they are listened to the most, Is it entirely equitable? Could it be better? Probably, but it's not terrible.
Gotcha.
That just so that just shocked me. I just was mind blown by that concept. I don't know why. I just never thought of it that way, man. So sometimes when somebody words something and says something a certain way, it just puts a whole different perspective on it. So the music industry is healthy, man. They're eating, they're doing well. The artists complaining about not getting paid, like Paul Rosenberg said, they're the artists that just were never selling records in the first place, whether it was CDs or streaming. If you can get paid a livable wage, $5,000, $7,000 a month off your music, hey man, you made it. You're making money off of your art. That's the way I look at what I'm doing with content creation. I make a livable, wage. To me, I made it. I might not be the biggest ever in the world, but I make money off the content I love to do. To me, that's more than enough. I don't need to be a whole multi-billionaire, So I think any artist, anybody that's a creator, whether you're drawing paintings or arts that way, whether you're making little mini films, whether you're doing music, whatever. If you can make a livable wage with that per month, you're good, man. Obviously, everybody wants more. Everybody wants to be successful for the most part in terms of notoriety, because success to me is, like I said, making a livable wage off the stuff you do. But yeah, the whole interview is interesting. Check it out. Whoo Kid talks about stealing music and leaking it and how he did that. And, Yayo talks about DJing at Paul Rosenberg's wedding. He took over the DJ set. So a lot of just cool, interesting stories. But yeah, check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Let's get to the Billboard Hot 100. Ella Langley, Choosing Texas, is at number 1. Man, I Need, Olivia Dean, number 2. I Just Might, Bruno Mars, number 3. Alex Ward, Ordinary, number 4. Golden Hunter, number 5. Stateside, Pink Panthers, number 6. Opia Lights, Taylor Swift, number 7. The Fate of Ophelia, Taylor Swift, number 8. So Easy, Olivia Dean, number 9. And American Girls, Harry Styles, number 10. Damn, we need some hip-hop on the top 10, bro. That's crazy. Hip-hop is getting cooked when it comes to some of these charts. Lil Uzi Vert, What You Saying, number 32. T.I. Let Him Know, number 36. This is climbing back up. Chris Brown, It Depends, number 38. Pop That Thing, The Baby, number 48. Damn, this is climbing the charts, man. Last week it was 62. It's starting to climb up in the top 40s again. That's crazy. Shout out to The Baby, man. He's fighting through all that shit that he was going through. He's making it back, bro. That's commendable. Much respect. Hard to do. Wale and Leon Thomas, Watching Us. Damn, that's climbing up too, number 76. Last week it was 92. That was the debut. So that's probably going to be a sleeper hit for Wale and start to grow. That's cool. Miss Trendsetter, Lil Baby, 80, number 81. FDO, Pusheisty, number 86. Jack Harlow, Trading Places, number 91 debut. Damn, that Jack Harlow record came and went. Ever Since You Left Me, Max B and French Beat, French Montana, number 92 debut. Independent, much respect to them. ASAP Rocky, Stay Here for Life, number 97. And that is it for the Billboard Hot 100. And that is it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, we are changing schedules. April 3rd officially starts the new schedule. Every Friday, there will be a new podcast episode. 1 episode a week. So thank you guys for always sticking by me, supporting, stream us, Spotify, Deezer, podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.